Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Roosevelt Smith, and I'm here to comment on a meeting that took place on the 20th of last month in which Judge Flood was involved in. I believe in my city council. I believe in civility. I strongly believe in decorum. And I also believe in having respect. What happened to Judge Flood was unbearable. I'm very, very appalled that the council did not stop. And I don't know the parliamentary rules of how one should speak when others are speaking as it relates to the council, but the council should have stopped. Someone should have said, look, guys, let's shelf this for a minute. Let's take a break. It got out of control. And I'm very, very disappointed that did not happen. You know, young kids talk about being dissed, meaning being disrespected. And you hear this in all aspects of our kids' lives. And what that means is they want to be respected. Judge Flood deserved an apology. She also deserved to be respected. We voted for her. We put her in office. If someone insults the integrity of Judge Flood, that means that you're insulting me as a voter. Remedy, issue an apology, and we can move on. And like I said, you know, one other thing I would like to say about the council is that I really enjoy dealing with the council that we have now. They're very progressive, and progressive is not a bad word. It's a very good word. So as we consider ourselves being progressive, let's do so as we relate to our elected officials, especially our judge, which is Tracy Flood. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right, please go ahead.
Hello, my name's Patrick Cooper. I'm also a Bremerton citizen, and I live in District 6, lifelong Bremertonian, either worked here or lived here my whole life. I also was upset about the September 20th meeting. The first time I watched it, it was upsetting. I watched it again because I wanted to make sure I heard everything right, and it was really worse under further review. It's not the whole council was saying anything disrespectful, but Judge Flood, who is an elected official representing the entire city, not just a district, but all of us, was asked mocking questions. She was interrupted constantly and kind of berated, it felt like. And all she was asking for was the same security, pre-COVID conditions, now that we're all back to non-COVID conditions. Like one of maybe two people wore a mask today. So COVID's not really over, but we're kind of back to normal, and security needed to be raised for the courthouse. I'm glad that, eventually the council decided to give Judge Flood the security she deserves. But the disrespect she was shown, I'm probably about as white as they come, and I try to be colorblind. Everybody says I'm colorblind, but when I see a panel of all white people kind of beating up on a black judge, all I could think of was counsel so white, So I'm trying to say this in a way that there needs to be some way to reel in council members. I know you guys take a lot of disrespect from the community. You get called names and things like that, but you're here to serve an example to all of us. So maybe there needs to be a little sensitivity training around issues on how we treat each other, what we do if a meeting starts getting a little out of hand. Maybe in soccer we need a yellow card and a red card or something, but that's all I gotta say. I just was embarrassed by it. Bye.
No, thank you. Thank you for your comments.
I need to address a couple of comments that were made, which are completely valid. So there was some feedback that I have been receiving about an interaction with Judge Flood. And I don't know about y'all, but anytime that a politician does not admit when they're wrong, that just drives me bananas. And I don't think that's right. I think a good politician is somebody who learns and grows. They don't come into a situation necessarily knowing all the right answers, but if they do learn a better way, they better act a better way. And so on the 27th, September 27th, I did apologize for, the mechanisms in which I asked questions of Judge Flood. And so you can go back to that if you want to, for those who are interested. And I'm very grateful for the feedback because it's probably, it's something that I need to learn and grow as a politician. So the other side of it is that I have two jobs here on City Council. The job is to, create laws, and do legislation, and also to be worried about the money and the budgets. So when I have a department that comes before us that has confusing and questionable fiduciary practices and protocol, I'm going to call it into question. That's my job. And I still hold true to the intent of the questions I asked on September 20th.
A danger. That's an issue. When you're running past the security officer who's standing in the doorway, you're knocking them down. This has happened.
Are you saying they should be shot before they should be detained? I guess is my clarifying question.
So, Ms. Chambers, can I finish?
I apologize. I guess I don't think that's proper.
So these are things that have happened that have led to my request.
Okay.
I did not take this request lightly. There has been staff that have been threatened by defendants. We get threatening phone calls all the time. The prosecutor's office has had threats from our defendants, and they've been prosecuted with felonies. The same threats have come to the court, but there's been no prosecutions. The person who ran from the courthouse was additionally charged with another crime. We also had the individual who came in, drove to the courthouse, got high, and was getting ready to drive away from the courthouse. That it took 2 officers to detain when we called 911, on top of, at that time, we did have someone from Seattle's finest who could prevent her from leaving the courtroom. So it's not necessarily that someone is wanting to be shot or we're advocating any violence, but it did deter her from fleeing the courtroom.
Thank you. And
The presence of being able to detain versus not detain an individual is the difference as far as what merchant can offer and what they cannot offer. They do not have the training or the staff or availability, is what I'm understanding from Melinda as well as them, that they can provide this service to us. The court did not take lightly and say, okay, I'm going to go with the highest bidder. What the court did was went out, investigated, got the information, talked to the chief. We talked to our security officers who have been giving us extra security and saying, okay, what are our options? We also tried to go back to the county and say, do you have any capacity? That was all no. So where we are now, and with your deferring and saying a week after I presented to you at the safety committee meeting, 2 days later, we had another incident. So the longer we wait on this, the more likelihood of something bad happening.
Thank you, Judge Flood. So what I hear you saying is that the necessity is that we need a security service that can detain folks rather than a security service who is precluded from detaining folks. And so it was a little shocking to folks that I asked that question, but I need to be prepared to answer because there's going to be constituents that are going to ask me those kinds of questions. And it may seem offensive to some, but I need to be able to answer that, and thank you for providing